Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we are at property address 6869 Southwest Maple Street here in Wilsonville. I describe everything as if you're standing in the street facing the front of the house. We are currently to the left of the front door. Should you lose track of your clean out, it sits perfectly straight out from the first foundation bend you come to the left of the door. This clean out, as you can see here, the whole top came off of it. They didn't glue that in place there. I would recommend just mentioning that to the builder. It's $2 in pipe glue. It's a very easy fix. Yeah, we're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. We're going to zero out the foot counter here. Off we go. Little dangly item there is either a little cobweb or a, looks like a cobweb and a little tiny bit of excess pipe glue that dripped down. Both of which are no big deal. Same thing there. They're not roots. That's the important part. Roots are pretty rare on new construction, but it does happen sometimes. Usually it's the model home that sits around for about a year before getting sold. Alright, transitioning here to 4-inch 3034 PVC. So far, nice looking sewer line. And the main thing I usually see on these, I've been doing this 13 years now. I've cambered almost 25,000 sewer lines at this point, many thousands of new construction lines, is construction debris. We'll come back and take a second look here, but that substance protruding off the pipe joint right there is a very common thing to see in new construction. They use a substance called, it's got a few different names and nicknames, but duck butter. It's like Vaseline. It's a grease substance they use. They put it on the pipe ends. That way when they shove the two different pipe ends into a coupler, it slams home all the way. It helps to lube the joint up, so when you push the pipe into it, it goes all the way and butts up against the coupler of the pipe ends. So it's very common to see that, a little bit of that protruding out from a pipe joint. And there's the main there. We're going to call it 48 feet, so we're close enough. We're going to go locate the camera head really quick here while the pipe drains off, and then we'll take a second look at everything as we come back. So far, nice looking line. Alrighty, located the camera head successfully. Line terminates on Southwest Maple Street as you face the home from the road. Again, the line pops out here just to the left of the front door. It then veers from left to right. It gets underneath the driveway. And it straightens out and runs down the driveway about 3 to 4 feet in from the left side edge of the driveway. It kind of runs down approximately the middle of the left side panel of the driveway. And you've got an even better landmark if you go out and stand in the road and face back of the house and look in that general direction. Right where the driveway meets the street, you'll see a double S stamped in the concrete there. That stands for sanitary sewer. That's right where the sewer, or approximately where the sewer line crosses the curb. That stamp is actually, based on my locates, off by a little bit. It's the sewer line actually crosses into the road, 8 inches or so, maybe a foot to the left of that stamp. It's close enough to give you an idea. Now it looks like the line here is just about done draining off. I can see just a tiny bit of water still moving through the pipe there. I'm pleased to see there's no construction debris in the line. This is kind of a rare circumstance. One of the biggest issues that's happened in the last few years, especially once the pandemic got going, just about every municipality out there wanted a secondary cleanout access put in, which is a second cleanout that usually is right in the middle of the sidewalk or at the end of the driveway. During the pandemic, I kid you not, out of about 500 homes I did over those 2 years, I was at a 90% failure rate. And I don't use the word failure unless the line is blocked and backing up. And that's how bad it was. They would, just about every home, did not matter what city you were in, someone would dump 100 pounds of gravel or concrete down that secondary cleanout. And that's a backup just waiting to happen the first time you flush the toilet. So I'm not a huge fan of the secondary cleanouts unless the line's long enough to actually justify having one. This one does not have that. So anyway, coming back to this spot here, the joint there is all sealed up tight. All that appears to be there is some duck butter, which is just a grease substance. It does not look like dirt at all. That's a very common thing to see, and it sloughs off the pipe over time, and it's not meaningful anyway. It's out of the flow line where it can't do anything. I get some folks asking me if that's dirt coming to the joint. It's not. All the PVC pipe there looks good, drains off nicely. Transition joint here is nice and tight and buttoned up. That tie in there at the top of the pipe is called a test tee. It's a diagnostic. It's like a clean out, but they get capped off after the line's permitted. They put a test bladder into them and pressure test the line. Every sewer line has one. We're just about back to the clean out here. We're going to flip around and run backwards until we go through the foundation. And everything from that point on, and the pipe next down to 3-inch pipe as we go backwards here. Everything from this point on, though, is all exposed piping in the crawl space. The home inspector looks at this stuff. And if I saw any evidence of construction debris in here, I'd take this a little bit further, but these guys did a great job at keeping this thing clean. Very nice looking sewer line. Great flow end to end. We went about 15 feet back inside the home there. All the ABS and PVC pipes in good condition, clean as can be, and functioning properly at this time. If you're new to home ownership, after 13 years of doing this, biggest thing that concerns me about sewer lines these days, it's not bellies, it's not offset joints, it's cooking oil and grease buildup in the line. It's a very common problem. People just dumping their frying pans down the sink. Best advice I can give you to keep the line humming along, especially if you have kids in the house that are still learning how to fold toilet paper and are balling it up like a softball, keep the cooking oil and grease out of your pipe. It turns your pipe into a sticky mess. It slows everything down as it moves through the pipe, and when it does stop up, it gets adhered to the pipe with a bunch of sticky, nasty grease buildup. And when you get blockages in greased up pipe, they are infinitely less likely to break loose on their own naturally under head pressure, which is what causes a lot of blockages to break loose without people even realizing they happen. And kind of the rule of thumb I tell most people to live by, if you have enough grease or oil on your pans, that if you were to turn the pan sideways, this is when the pan's hot anyway or warm, if there's enough oil and grease on there that it runs off the pan in beads, basically flows off the pan, it's at that point you want to do something about it and mitigate. Let the pan cool down, wipe it out with a paper towel, pour the grease into a jar. Don't pour it into your trash can hot or it'll melt a hole through it. Just let things cool down. You can scrape it off into the trash can once it cools down too. A thin little coating of PAM spray is no big deal. A hot water and soap handles that just fine. The key, if you know some amounts getting down line, is keep your water, use hot water when you wash your dishes, but keep it running piping hot for about a minute, longer than your last dish was washed. That helps to ensure that anything that did get down there remains melted and emulsified until it gets to the main, or at least a good distance out from your house. Anyway, that's the PSA for the day on grease buildup. Sewer line is functioning properly at this time.